Now, a big issue, especially now with the current financial situation. There's many businesses that are faced with the unfortunate, and individuals as well, people that are, for no fault of their own, bankruptcy. Tell our visitors and our audience here a little bit about the bankruptcy procedure and how best to, obviously it's a very highly complex area, but in broad stroke terms,
Sure.
how HirschTax deals with these types of
Okay, first of all, I have to say that bankruptcy would be the very last resort, ever.
Yeah.
It goes on your credit and generally stays on your credit report for 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a permanent public record.
Right.
It takes years, okay, to get off.
Okay.
I don't recommend bankruptcy to anyone except if they're in a dire circumstance where they're either being threatened by a creditor and there's going to be a judgment. Possibly never want to file bankruptcy just because you owe taxes. Never. Okay? Because what a lot of people don't know is you cannot even include the most three recent years.
Oh.
The current year that's owed and the previous 2 years cannot be included in the bankruptcy proceedings. They won't be discharged.
Right. Okay.
Only the older years.
Right. So
1999, 2000, 2001, and 2 and 3, those years, not the current ones.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So even if you do go bankrupt and you do everything in a perfectly legal and proper manner, you will still owe the IRS or the state equalization board. Does this apply to
You will owe
states?
the taxes for the most current 3 years.
It makes no difference whether it's federal or local.
Right. Now, sometimes it's at the discretion of the bankruptcy judge and trustee and so forth. They might include part of it.
Oh, okay.
They will never, ever, current, past, previous, whatever, include payroll trust fund taxes.
Ah, right.
The taxes that are taken out of an employee's paycheck. That's not your money to begin with.
Yeah, right. So that effectively, that has to be paid because because otherwise you're stealing from Uncle Sam, and that's
exactly.
And
there's no bankruptcy or even death. They're still going to send the bill to somebody.
Right. Right.
You have to pay those taxes.
Right. Absolutely.
Older taxes, income taxes from 10 years ago, sure. 5 years ago, okay.
Right.
Current, no. Okay, that's number one.
Right.
Number two, you don't want to file bankruptcy unless you're in the corner and there's a judgment and they're about to come out, and evict you, and there's an emergency.
A life,
Almost a life-threatening.
a life crisis. Let's not call it life-threatening because that's
A life crisis.
A life crisis. But some people fall on terrible circumstances. They have accidents, all sorts of untoward circumstances, and now particularly with the financial situation, many companies, from the point of view of the company bankruptcy, that's a different situation. Enlighten those company owners that are perhaps not in the best situations at the moment, how best to proceed in these tough economic times.
Okay, well, first of all, people have there's 2 or 3 different choices for an individual. There's Chapter 7, and each one has their own set of rules and regulations, okay? Chapter 7 is a complete liquidation of all debts, except the back payroll taxes.
Exactly.
Child support.
Never
write off your child support. Those are your children. You can't get around that. And most likely student loans.
Right. Okay.
Why student loans? Because student loans, you got your education from the government. They paid for your loan.
Right, but you're talking about student loans that are federally backed. You're not talking about the private ones.
Talking about federally backed student loans.
Sure.
Which a lot of people have.
Now, a lot of these issues are extremely complex, and what we try and do is we ask you to fill out the form, and then we can come back to you with the appropriate documentation, and generally speaking, in these types of situations, about an hour's worth of free consultancy so that people will be able to see what their options are.
Free consultation, and then we get started.
And that's a face-to-face, isn't it?
Right.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Unless they want to call in.
Yeah, if they can call in, absolutely. Great stuff. Thank you very much.